Hey, hi there, friends. Welcome to Carpos Corner, episode something, maybe 14. I guess the reason I thought it would be fun to start this series is because then I could really take note of how many damn episodes I actually make. I've been talking about things for so long on YouTube that sometimes I forget what it's like to not have a way to express myself. But today's video is really pertaining to how funny it is that, I don't know, I have these little insights during the day that sometimes I share, sometimes I don't. They're usually, when I say insight, I'm not one who believes in new ideas. In other words, most new ideas, they have to go through a trial and error process long before I will support things. No, most of the ideas that I have, the aha moments I have, are archetypes. Archetypes being the bigger stories, the symbols behind who we are. Recognizing an archetype within the behavior of people. And I suppose I should give you an example of what an archetype is. Archetypes are the hero or the victim, or certain stories of particular journeys. If you think of the Greek gods, many of them represented archetypes. You have Zeus, right? And you have, you know, all the different sons and daughters, and the fact that, Kronos ate his children, and Kronos was time. And time naturally eats everything. So it's very complex, way beyond the scope of what I want to talk about here, and way beyond the scope of what I understand. And I guess that brings me to the main point here, which is we all want to understand stuff. That's kind of what I was going to start the video with. Like, we all want to know stuff and think we know stuff, and not the same stuff. No. Some people want to know everything about music, others want to know everything about politics, some people want to know everything about healthcare, and some people want to learn all about drugs. Some people want to learn all about tools. There are people who want to read stories strictly about other people, and then others who want to write stories strictly about themselves. And there are so many different types of people and so many different attitudes and behaviors that we'd be complete idiots not to realize that there is no path for humans, that there's no one size fits all. I think we know that. Therefore, when we talk about knowledge, the reason why this came to mind is because everyone wants to know something. Even if it's just knowing your own family well, or even a particular individual. Maybe you only know your dog. Maybe it's just you and a dog in the woods, living in the middle of nowhere by yourselves, understanding your dog. People want a connection with not just animals and people, but with their surroundings. They want to understand the world around them. And so this is where it gets tricky, because those who try to understand their world, like myself, for example, I realize that I can only see things through my eyeballs, in the colors that I see. A completely limited perspective, visually, mentally, olfactory, the way I smell, and my dog can smell so much more than I can. And I accept that. Like, this is the limited view I have of the world, and I'm okay with it because that's who I am. But I think that for a lot of folks, they want to be more than they are. So what we do as humans is we can't really smell better or see very much better. So what we do is we learn. We improve the mind. That is the sense, I guess the sixth sense perhaps too. People believe as perception or intuition, trying to hone your skills of reading minds, whatever it might be, just to try to know something. But what I've learned over the years, and I think this is really the crux of the discussion here, the important factor, most people, it's not that they want to know something, they want to know something that others don't know. Not everyone is like this, but there are some people, this is where the conspiracy realms come from. People wanting to be, quote, in the know, and basically demean others who don't get it or haven't seen the light or become, awakened to the truth with a capital T, that old, It's just like a religion, the same way religion has always pushed itself as being the truth. I think that what we have to do is realize there is no one truth and acknowledge that. You know? I think what I've discovered personally is that the truth doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's all about what personal truth works for you. But there's a certain degree of connection and understanding we have to have with other people as well. But that's beyond the scope as well of this video. To bring it to the main point here, I realize that people, if they can't build a truth or an understanding about the world based on what they know and their own discoveries, their own efforts, their own work, research, whatever it might be, they will fall for somebody else's version of reality. And this is where we have this kind of hero syndrome, where people really believe that a politician or a millionaire, for that. I'm still kind of taken back. When I was growing up in the 80s, I really saw through a lot of the bullshit, the ads, the millionaires trying to sell you more garbage you don't need, the name brand merchandise, and I just didn't buy into it, no pun intended. I've never bought something because it was from a brand name, unless that brand name was reputable, and that particular item I needed to be a very reputable brand. So if you're going camping or backpacking, anyone who's been hiking knows you go to REI to buy your stuff, you're going to spend a fortune. You don't have to buy all the fanciest backpacks and brand name BS, but there's a reason why people do, because it's reliable, it's dependable, and when you're out in the middle of frickin' nowhere and you have nothing to filter your water because you bought a cheap-ass water filter, that's a problem. But this isn't the same as, buying name brand clothing or something. It's like you're going to spend $400, $500 on a pair of jeans, that's on you. I think it's idiotic. You can get a fine pair of jeans for much less than that. But if you're a millionaire, spend your money however you choose. My thing is that I think that people are always looking to be, to trust other people to tell them what is best. And that's why I think a lot of people buy certain cars or certain clothing or have certain styles, because they hear their heroes, whether it be back in the day, movie stars, influencers is what it's called today. Like the term influencer is something that just makes me cringe. Because this is what I mean about when I was growing up in the 80s, I never finished that. I really thought that by the time I got older, I was like, my generation is going to see through all this bullshit and all this crap that they're promoting as, products. Like, we're finally going to break through this shell and, quote, wake up, I guess, at the time, to the fact that you don't need all this crap. But the kids of today seem dumber than ever. They're buying the same shit. They're doing no research. They're doing, absolutely making no effort to be themselves, even though they think that they are. And I'm not talking about all young kids. It's just people in general. But I figured that the younger generation, being as open-minded as they always are, would be able to see through this and go, I'm not going to buy this crap. I'm not going to buy into this, rip-off, ads to me have just been, it's the worst thing ever that I've had to endure, is people who lie to your face. At least crime or violence is right there and people wear it on their sleeve, they do what they do. But when it comes to like ads and selling you stuff, we have people like, for example, Elon Musk. I thought that when I got to be an adult, the younger people by then would be able to see through any millionaire, especially a billionaire. But they can't. They have no understanding. They really think that a guy like Elon Musk is trying to help the world. But even if he is, I think that the major misunderstood point here is that it doesn't matter what your intentions are if your methods suck. And when it's one individual, when it's one person making decisions for everyone else, you would think people would be suspicious. We always are when it's presidents, politicians, when it's people that we elect, we're always suspicious. But when it's people we don't even elect, people that just happen to make big decisions without even being a representative, we just don't even seem to question it. It's like people favor people who say things that they want to hear. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is people hear things that they want to hear. And they agree with it. And the people who are speaking the bullshit, they just say something else that sounds good to you. And the reason I used Elon Musk is because it was the first one to come to mind. He's made so many promises over the years, but the thing is, that's not my issue with him. I don't care what his promises are. I just think that his methods suck. I don't care how smart he is or what his IQ is. If you're completely against public transit and you'd rather have individual cars, I feel like you've missed the whole point already. Sending off cars into space and shit. I mean, it's dumb. Flying, 20 minutes to some convention or something and then talking about being green and saving the environment. It's pathetic. Elon Musk to me is just probably, he's I think worse than even people like Bill Gates, who is just disgusting to me. But Elon Musk is in the same bracket. And it's the same way I feel about all billionaires. They're all morons. Because, and I'm not talking dumb when I say morons, because there's different forms of intelligence. Some people said that there's 10 and others say there's 13. I don't give a fuck how many different forms of intelligence there are, but we know there's emotional, there's cognitive, spatial awareness, and if you don't have a little bit of each, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how high your IQ is. In fact, it seems a little cumbersome to be too smart. Seems like the smarter a person is, the more mistakes they make, as far as, but what it really comes down to is the power. When a person has a certain amount of power and control. What is the solution? I think it's to give up that power to other people and really let more people make decisions. It's that simple. Because people say, well, what should we do about, people being idols for others? I don't want to be an idol. Let me put it this way. Even if my YouTube channel got huge and I ended up being famous, there was a time when I was making videos talking about how to live life and things that I'd found useful, and they get a lot of traction to this day. A lot of the self-help quote type videos, those are the ones on my channel that get the most attention and the most views. So if I was only about views, all I would do is sit around and talk about self-help and pretend like I'm some guru. Then I might end up being some guy like, wow, I could be the new leader, the new Miscavige. What is it, David Miscavige? He's the leader of Scientology, and it was L. Ron Hubbard who invented it. A lot of folks don't realize L. Ron Hubbard was not just a science fiction writer who wrote Dianetics. He was the most prolific science fiction writer of all time. I'm not kidding. If you look it up, L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, wrote more science fiction stories than anyone in history. I believe it was something like 4,000 or more. And he was quoted as saying, if you really want to be successful, start your own religion. You can't go wrong. The government, I can't remember how he phrased it, but years later, that's exactly what he did. It doesn't matter. So he started his own business. He called it a religion. A lot of folks don't realize that he sent people to actually infiltrate the CIA, I believe, and the IRS, and got information on the employees of the IRS and blackmailed them into giving tax-exempt status to the church because they denied it initially. And I know this sounds kind of off base, but it has a point. The fact that Scientology was not just allowed to manipulate the government, but to end up being tax exempt, still to this day, the fact that the leader's wife disappeared and she's been probably locked away for 20 years, all these documentaries have been made, and the Scientologists will confront the media and call them oppressors, and it's a cult. But it's a cult that's in not just broad daylight, but literally has Hollywood as members. People like Tom Cruise, right? And a couple who broke away. I think it was Leah Remini, not sure how to pronounce her name, but she got away from the church, made a big stink, and they followed her and harassed her forever. Still are, probably to this day. because this is how obsessed people are with believing other people who tell them that they have the answers. If you tell someone this is the truth, this is the only religion that's true, and in order to be one of the good ones, you have to confront the evil, then people will do it. Because people are followers. Most people are. And I know there's a couple of you out there who say, no, I'm a leader. Of course. But even leaders follow. That's how we learn. And there are times when I'm a leader and times when I'm a follower. And it depends on the value of the person in front of me and what they're presenting. And often that's hard to gauge. We don't always know whether it's valuable, whether we're going to get something out of a person's, contribution who wants our attention. You just think about all the generals who led soldiers into battle, and all the politicians who sent those generals into battle, and you see how it runs up the line. You see how people are willing to follow others because we are so desperate to think that we know what's right and what's wrong and what's true and what's not. Which brings me back full circle to the beginning. All I know is what I can sense through my senses. The one thing that's changed over the last 20 years is the internet. The internet allows me to look at things that claim to be true. Then I have to decipher whether or not that is true. But first I have to decipher whether or not that matters. And I have to interpolate and, assimilate the information and process it. And I think that's something that a lot of people really forget is the most crucial aspect. Process the information that you learn. Don't just hear what somebody says and said, yeah, and go rant about this. In fact, I saw a YouTuber earlier talking about that. It was Moist Critical, actually, Charlie. He's probably the 6th, I think, most popular YouTuber as far as the kind of rants and raves kind of thing. He's just very cynical and dry, and he's hilarious. And he was talking about, this same topic with some guy who, it's like this drama thing. He talks a lot about people falling for other people's bullshit and believing their bullshit. I actually had a complete brain fart here because I started thinking about something else he'd done, and now I forgot the point that I was going to make about that. But that's raw, right? I can't cut it out. Can I edit this in real time? Oh my god, my fingernail's dirty. I'm a carpenter. What can I say? Yeah, I've been back to doing normal work, not working from home. I've been building tiny homes, and we just started framing this new one. And I guess that brings a good point forward that the guy I work for, he's not very organized, but he's a great guy. Like, I shouldn't say that. He's organized in the way he needs to be organized, just like I am. Like, I have little messes all around, but I know what's going on with my messes. And I totally sense that that's the same thing with him. But the work that I do, you have to trust people who have come before you. As carpenters, you don't just get up and jump on a saw or a tool and learn how to use it right away without asking people. You at least watch videos these days. A lot of people are like, oh, I just watch YouTube videos. Well, when I was young, that didn't exist. We needed actual foremen to take us under their wing and literally teach us, hands-on how to build things. And fortunately, I was one of the people who was, one of the chosen ones to learn how to do finished carpentry and cabinets and stuff. But I taught myself a lot as well. And I had to trust that the person who's teaching me knows what they're talking about. The same way that any time we learn from other people. The fact that you're watching this right now, and if you've made it this far into the video, that you're listening to what I have to say and trusting that it might have some value. Or maybe not. But I really try to present something of value because I don't want to waste your time or mine. But these are important things that I've learned. I think that that's what I'd like to focus my channel on most of the time, but I also have a lot of complaints about the world. So it's like I go back and forth. I make it every effort not to complain and to focus on the good things. And so I was like, what's the best thing? Well, maybe it's realizing that you are your own leader. You are your own teacher. And that you can learn just about anything you need if you just make a little effort to get away from the bullshit and love yourself for who you are. So I'm going to pick up a card now. Actually, it's my son's birthday the other day, and I have to go meet this guy in about 20 minutes at the store down here to pick up a video card for my son's computer because it's old, and his birthday was Saturday, and I now have a teenager again. Maybe he can teach me something. I hope I made some sense in this. If not, whatever. I did my best. I'll talk to y'all next time. Be well. Much love. Give somebody a hug and, yeah, be well.